In 2024, more than ever, the cost of living in Vancouver will be high, making it difficult for so many Vancouverites. Over the last couple of years, the rise in everyday costs have been increasing at such a fast pace, and honestly, it's getting harder and harder to keep up. In this video, I'm going to be giving you a good idea of what it really costs to live in Metro Vancouver in 2024. I've lived in Vancouver for the last 15 years, and I've definitely noticed a drastic increase in everyday expenses such as groceries, gas, insurance, entertainment, and most especially, the rent and housing costs. Let me break down some of these expenses in more detail. Firstly, let's talk about easily the most expensive cost, housing. The average rent for a one-bedroom condo in Vancouver is about $2,700. However, if you want to live in a more desired area like Kitsilano or the downtown core, you're looking at over $3,000 for a one-bedroom, and for two bedrooms, you're looking at in the late $3,000s to even over $4,000 per month. Let's say you prefer to have more space in a more family-oriented detached house. It'll cost you $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per month, depending on the size and the area of the home. As you can see, this is very difficult to afford on top of other bills such as transportation, groceries, and miscellaneous expenses. What you can do to reduce some housing costs is to look further out from Vancouver in other great cities such as Burnaby, Coquitlam, New West, and more. I've made a video on the top neighborhoods to live in, so check that video out right here. These neighborhoods just outside of Vancouver have a ton to offer, just as much as the downtown core. All in while being a reasonable distance away from downtown if that's important for you, such as for school, work, shopping, and entertainment. Say if you want to purchase, it'll cost you this much for your average home. Now, it's no surprise why so many Vancouverites say they have little to no hope in ever owning their own real estate, which I understand and feel for as a young person myself. Vancouver absolutely has a lack of supply in housing, which keeps the rent high and the housing prices high. And this is a rather difficult issue to solve, and definitely not a quick one either, for the foreseeable future. So my advice would be to be prepared for the high prices and high competition when it comes to housing. Okay, now let's talk about food. The cost of food has been increasing all across the globe, and here in Vancouver is no different. 1 liter of milk costs on average $3.42, while a carton of eggs costs on average $5.87. In my personal experience, I feel like I easily spend at least $100 for every grocery trip, and it really doesn't feel like I'm getting much, especially when you start to add more costly items such as meat and seafood. If you enjoy eating out like I do, it'll easily cost you around $20 per meal on the low end, such as at fast food places or lower end restaurants, and more like $30 to $50 in your mid-range restaurants. Oh, and do not forget tax and tip. As a single person household that eats out about once a day and does one grocery trip per week on average, I spend a total about $1,000 per month on food. I know I do realize I eat out a lot more often than the average, so take that into account. And I think you can cut that cost by a few $100s if you can cook more than I do and or have roommates or family to split groceries with. For a family of 4, I'm going to estimate their food bill to be about $1,300 to $2,000 depending on their lifestyle, with the help of a couple data points I found on Google. Often the third most costly expense, we're going to discuss transportation. I feel like many Vancouverites like to complain about our public transit system, but in my experience, I feel that it's actually pretty good, and many of us take it for granted. This transit pass gives you unlimited access to buses, SkyTrains, and sea buses. This monthly pass makes a lot of sense if you use public transit as your main method of getting around, and I feel that it's fairly priced, especially when you look at just how much owning and maintaining a car costs in Vancouver. For the cost, we're looking at between $105 to $190 for the monthly transit pass, depending on how far you need to travel, determined by zones 1, 2, and 3. My method of getting around is by driving my car, which I pay about $250 per month on insurance with 8 years of clean driving record for a normal Toyota. If you plan to drive in Vancouver, one thing you need to know is that our fuel costs are really high, actually one of the highest in North America. Based on the fuel prices at the time I'm making this video is about $1.70 per liter, and it cost me about $80 to fill up my Toyota from empty to full, filling up just under once a week. So not including your car payments, you're looking at about $500 to $600 to drive your car, and add on top any regular maintenance such as oil changes, tires, brakes, and whatever random fixes that come up. If you live in Metro Vancouver, it's fairly easy to get around by public transit, especially if you live near a SkyTrain station. So I would recommend you consider not having a car unless you absolutely need it.
because, well, it'll definitely cost you.
For leisure, Vancouver is very lucky that we have so much nature and outdoor activities British Columbia has to offer so close by. That is, if you like the outdoors. For example, I'm at the Lynn Canyon Suspension Bridge here in North Vancouver. That's only half an hour from where I live. Hiking's gotta be the #1 most popular hobby for Vancouverites, and you really won't run out of mountains and lakes to explore, all within a few hours drive at most. I really love the fact that I can enjoy a morning hike and still have a regular day without taking a whole day off just to go hiking. Another thing you can do is join one of the many hiking clubs in Vancouver. It's a really good way to meet new friends and make connections in Vancouver.
Also, we have a number of beaches and lakes to swim in when it's hot outside. My favorite one being Kitsilano Beach, where I can play volleyball and basketball with all the locals and cool off in the water afterwards. If you want to take a road trip, Whistler, one of my absolute favorite places in the world, is just 2 hours away from Vancouver. Though if you want to ski or snowboard, the ticket prices cost upwards of $200 per day, plus any rentals of the equipment if you require them.
For miscellaneous costs that life throws at you, let me give you some examples. My phone bill cost me around $80 per month for unlimited data, call, and text, gym membership at $80 per month, occasional shopping and household items between $100 to $200 per month from Amazon and Walmart.
When you add up all these costs, it quite easily surpasses a couple $1,000s even for a single person living moderately, and only goes up from there for families to live in Vancouver. If you plan to move to Vancouver, you really want to consider all the pros and cons of living in this beautiful yet expensive city and see if it's worth it for you. Despite our high cost of living, Metro Vancouver continues to grow with many newcomers coming from out of the province and out of country. I just really wanted to be fully aware of all the costs associated with living here, as I see many new migrants shocked and overwhelmed. I made a pros and cons video of living in Vancouver, so check that video out, as I think that will help you with your decision. Thanks for watching, like the video so I know to make more videos just like this one, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.